I met a guy, and he was probably like my first real true love. At 15, you are still a kid, so I wasn't aware. I didn't know anything about boys, men, or anything. He was dishonest with me, telling me that he was younger than he really was. And I was under the impression that he was 18, 19 years old. But in reality, he was about 27 years old. Yet we still dated, and I had sex with him, unprotected. But I never thought about anything like that. I had never even heard of HIV or AIDS. And he was a IV drug user, and I didn't know. You see, that was the thing. It was really new for me being sexually intimate with a man. That's how this thing all came about. I did notice that he would take frequent trips to the bathroom, but I didn't know why. I was more of a shelter kid, you know, with my grandparents raising me. And I wasn't exposed to a lot of things going on with people in the world till I met this guy. Later on, his cousin realized we were a little friendlier than anybody knew, and she came into the room and said, "You have got to stop talking to that girl. She is just a child." And he was living with her then, and I'm sure she was thinking about the legal consequences that would happen if my grandparents found out we were seeing each other. But by that time, I had feelings for him. I was really starting to like him, you know. But she didn't want any parts of that and stuff. So eventually we broke up. And then when I'm 19, I'm riding down the street and I run into him again and we exchanged numbers. And it's like we fell in love all over again. Because I had spent so much time thinking about if I'd ever see him. So when I did, I was just floored. And it's kind of like I'm reliving it right now talking to you. I was so happy. It was just so beautiful. And I was starting to pay attention to things and people in the world. And not like when I was 15, because I'm starting to really pay attention to him because I want to be in his life, you know? But he was still on IV drugs. And he shielded me from it, so I didn't know. The only reason I found out is because his cousin came into the room and told him that he left his stuff in her bathroom. So she came out of the room saying, "You left your stuff in my bathroom and I got kids and da-da-da. I told you not to do this stuff in my house." And then she came in and threw the stuff on the floor in front of us. And that's when I saw it all. The drugs, the needles, all that stuff he'd been doing. And I realized how he always seemed like a different person when he come out the bathroom on account of him being high and happy and all. And he's what, in his 30s by then? And I still don't think he knew that he was positive, that he had HIV or AIDS. And it was all on the news. It was in the 80s and everybody was just so afraid, like, God, if you get that, you're gonna die. And then I learned how it's transmitted through bodily fluids and blood and semen. But eventually we break up. And he starts seeing another girl and she actually ends up having a child by him. But when the baby's born, they found out that the baby's HIV positive. Then she finds out she's HIV positive, and then he finds out he's HIV positive, and then he gets sick. And his cousin comes to find me and says, "I'm gonna tell you he's sick, and he's really bad off. They don't know if he's gonna make it." And I'm like, "What happened to him?" Then she sits me down and tells me he has AIDS. So then I rushed to the hospital, and God, I'll never forget the way he looked. He was just so sick looking. And then she sits me down again and says, "Midnight, you need to get tested." And I'm terrified because I'm about to graduate college and I'm just like, none of this is real. Then she calls me again to tell me he's dead. Then I begin to think about him telling me how sorry he was and him apologizing that he never meant to hurt me. So I did the best thing I figured I should do. I just took all that stuff and just forgot about it. The drugs, the baby, his cousin, him getting sick, him having AIDS, him even dying. I just took all that and shoved it to the back of my head. I was in denial for 2 years before I actually went and got tested. And they told me I was positive. It was another 8 years of me living in denial before I got tested again. And again, they told me I was positive. And I didn't believe it. And sometimes I still don't, that it happened to me. You see, living with HIV and AIDS is challenging because of the stigmatization from others inside and outside of personal relationships. I really have a problem with it myself because people find it challenging to be around me because they don't know how they can get it without exchanging bodily fluids. And it won't be a secret much longer. I have family that know that I'm positive. I have 5 sisters and they all know. They don't treat me different, they don't stigmatize me, but they also don't give me everything I need to fulfill me as a person. You see, I talked to my son and other young children about it, and I asked them, do you all use condoms? Do you all protect yourself? Because young girls are getting pregnant and catching STDs more than ever, and sometimes I have to tell them, why you out there having sex with multiple partners? Make sure you protect yourself because you can be affected. And they're like, we could get AIDS? That's just for old people and gay people. And I'm like, no, it's every people, it's everybody now. But I just try to keep a positive attitude. You know, I look forward to my son graduating high school, going to college, getting married, and having kids. I pray to live to see my grandchildren one day, and I believe that God listens to me. And I try to stay thankful and grateful because God kind of used this as a way of connecting me to Him, you see. And I know that God is bigger than this, and He can sustain me so I'll be here for my grandkids one day. So I try to think about the poems and songs that I've been writing throughout all of this. I even think about going back to college and finishing my bachelor's. You see, I've got plans to live and not die.